We get up to the Gemara here on the bottom of Ayin Aleph Amid Beis. Hagufa Kasha. The Gemara finds a steer within the Mishnah. We pointed it out yesterday. Amart, on the one hand, you said that if he was Madir Hala Regel Echad Yikaya, they could continue the Ishus, the marriage, implying that Hashnayim, but if he was Madir Hal for two regalim, not just one regel, Yotzevi thinks he's got to divorce her. But a Masechet, the Sefer says Shlosha Yotzevi thinks but only if he was Madir Hal for three regalim, then he has to divorce her, but Hashnayim implying that for two regol Yikaya. So what's the reconciliation here in terms of Shnayim? Omer Abai, Sefer Ason L'Kohenes. Rabbi Yehuda. We've seen already on Daf Ayin that Rabbi Yehuda, in the case of Madir's Ishto, if he's a Kohen married to a woman, then we give him a longer period of time. We don't want to push the divorce too early because that's an irreversible situation. A Kohen is also the Grusha. And therefore, the Sefer says that unless he's Madir for 3 months, in the case of an Ashes Kohen, then we don't ask him and compel him to divorce his wife. Rabbi Bar Ula offers another answer. Lo kash. You could really learn that our Mishnah is like the Chachamim. There's no difference between Yisrael and Kohen. And we could reconcile the ratio in the Sefer Khan in the ratio, Biridufa. This is a woman who apparently is not happy in her marriage. She's always gravitating towards her father's house. And therefore, in that situation, if he was Magir for two regolim, then he has to divorce the Khan. But in the Sefer of the Mishnah, we're talking about Isha She'ena Redufa. She doesn't gravitate constantly to her father's house, and therefore she can tolerate even if he was Madir for two regolim to stay away from her father's house. Here's a little agadic insert in the Gemara. It says in Shir Hashirim that Knesset Yisrael is praised and lauded in the eyes of the Almighty. Anichom Avashadai Kimigdalos Az Hayisi Beinov Kimotzeis Shalom. Beinov is a reference to the Dod, which is metaphorically the Ribbon Shalom. This is all within the context of the marriage relationship between Knesset Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Kekala shenimtzeis shlema b'beis chamil. In her husband's house, she shlema, and redufa lelech ulahagid shivcha b'beis aviyah. She has a tendency of gravitating towards her father's house and sort of boasting or praising the fact that she was zocheh to be so well accepted in the house of her husband, the house of her father-in-law. The Knesset Yisrael is also being praised here because Nischava Be'ena Kashpach, they are cherished and beloved in the eyes of the Almighty of the Dod, and Nimtzeis Shleimah. Pasuk says, V'hoya Bayomaku, in this in Hosea Novi, Yom Hashem, Tikroi Ishi, Below Tikroi Od Bailu, Omer Yochanan. What is the meaning of this pasuk? Knesset Yisrael will be called by HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of love, Ishi, like Ishus, like a marriage relationship, Chala the base Chamia, like a Chala who's married to a husband. She's with her, let's say, in the house. She's with her husband in the house of her in-laws, of his father, and she's not embarrassed because she got used to her husband. While she's still in Arusa, she's still very embarrassed and inhibited in the presence of her husband. The Mishnah taught us that Hamadir es Ishto, he imposed a neder on his wife not to visit a Beis Ovel or Beis Mishnah. Mishnah, the Gemara says, I can understand the Beis Mishnah. Ika Noel B'fanel. He's locking the door of Simcha in her face. She will not be able to participate in the Simchas of a Beis HaMishnah. And here we start our daf for today, daf ayin beis. El beis ovel my no b'fana ika. What kind of sadness or restriction from simcha is he imposing on his wife? And the Gemara answers, Tana, we learned in a brisa that this is called me'ilas deles, when he locks the door and he doesn't allow it to visit a beis ovel, because l'machar he mesa, when it's time for her to die, ein kol birya softa. She won't have anyone who will be eulogizing like the Yami, ein kol birya softa, no one will bury her. In other words, if she didn't do to others and was gomel chesed to others, then in the reverse sense, reciprocally, they will not be gomel chesed to her. Tanya, we learned in a brisa of Meir Omer, my dechsim and koheles, tov l'olechas al beis avel, mi'olechas al beis hamishta, ba'asher hu sof kol odem, ba'chayit en olim. So the Gemara explains this pasuk. What is the end of the pasuk? Ba'chayit el libo. That these are things that a person should focus on. It should come down to his heart. Dvarim shel misa. The fact that the end of man is always, the best of man is to be in a base avel, dvarim shel misa, and he has to realize that ultimately he'll die, and therefore it should not be insignificant. That's a double negative. Al yera be'enov, to do chesed and amesim, because we have a principle b'mida shehu moded with brios, ba moded imlo. It's reciprocal. It's going to reflect back on him. If his midah is to do chesed with Mason, then when he dies, others will do chesed with him, which means to suffer yispedune. If he'll eulogize others in their death, then they will certainly eulogize him when he dies. The cover, if he buries the dead, yifurune, they'll bury him when he dies. The adali adlune, if he cries at the eulogy of others that died, then when he dies, there will not be a cruel kind of silence, but rather others will cry over his loss. And the Levi Yulhune, if he escorts the beer, the mita from the Beis Avel to the Beis Hakvaros, then when he dies, they'll do the same thing, the time, Yitanune. And if he carries the meat of others at their levias, then others will do the same thing when he dies. The Mishnah says, Mishum davar acher rashoi. My davar acher, what is this davar acher? That as a result, he could be madir hashlo telech lebeis avel lebeis hamishtam Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. What justifies such a neder that he posed on her? Mishum b'nei adam krutzik shemitzuyim sham. People are not proper, they're not behaving the right way in morality, and there they are. He wants to keep her away from that. Ella, when is he justified to impose upon her a neder not to visit the Beis Avel, Beis Mishta? Ella dis chazek. When we know for certain that people of this kind of ilk, that we describe as prutzim, are mitzuyim sham, we have that chazaka. Now, for Lois Chazik, call Kamine. If we haven't heard that they're prutzim, he can't just invent that to take that, pull that rabbit out of his hat and say, well, I'm afraid that there are people who are not proper, who are prutzim there, and that's not going to give him any justification to be mad at his wife. And in such a case, since the neder is an ilas delos and it imposes upon her, we're going to compel him to divorce his wife and pay the ksuba. The Mishnah says that you should tell Ploni what I told you, or what you told me, or whatever I told you. What's going on over here? So the Gemara asks, in this case, the Mishnah paskins that the Baal has to divorce his wife, pay the ksuba, and because she doesn't want to participate and be a partner with him, to speak about so and so. And what if she would well, why is she being so obstinate, not willing to give in to her husband's request? We're talking about the Baal who's trying to squeeze out of his wife that she should speak about somebody else things that are gnai. And that's a design for her to be mesafer to others. And besides these are Lashon Hara and Mechilus. And therefore, in such a case, he has to divorce his wife. The Mishnah says, Oshetena Mala Uma'arali Ashpa. He imposed the neder on her to throw out the garbage. He has to divorce us. And this is the Tevid. Why is she so hesitant, refusing to be Mamali, to fill up the garbage and throw it out? This is all an illusion. This shouldn't be taken literally. What his neder was not about taking out the garbage. It was about her doing an active contraception, meaning that after her rechem is filled with zera, she runs around, and he was mad her that she should run around and let the zera go out of her body so that it shouldn't be absorbed and connect with an ovum, and she would conceive. And she doesn't have to listen to him. He has to divorce her in such a case. Masechet Tana, and we learned thusly in a brisa, Shetemali Asor Kadimayim Usor LeAshpa. So it seems that Rabbi Yehuda the name of Shmuel was willing to interpret the Mishnah in a much more liberal way without taking the words literally. However, the brisa seems to take it very literally. Mishnah Shmuel, I understand Shmuel Yotzivi thinks Suva. She doesn't have to listen to him when he asks her to cleanse herself of the zera before it's koled elamas nisan. If you take this literally, and he's asking her to throw out the garbage, is my nafkamina why she's so insistent on objecting to his neder. What's happening here is that he's asking her to do something that is totally meaningless, has no purpose, no goal. Just fill up water in a barrel 10 times over and go pour it out. So she's embarrassed by that. People will see that she's like a shota, she's being mistreated by her husband, therefore he has to divorce. So Rav Kahana, Amadis Ishto Shelo Tishal, he imposed a neder that she should not borrow things from others, or Shelo Tashil, shouldn't lend things to others, like for example a nafa and a kvar, different types of sieves, and mechayim handles, and tanur, and movable ovens. Is Yotziv eating suva? Why? Shemasiya Shemra Bishkunosef, by imposing upon her this limit, this restriction, that she won't lend things and she won't borrow things, that gives her a very bad name in the community. They say that she's stingy, she's a tzaras ayin. And Tanya Nami Hachi, if her husband is madras ishto shelo tishal, v'shelo tashil, that she shouldn't borrow or lend, napotav l'karen. Yotziv yitexuv l'shmasiya shem rabach shem yisrael. But here, the Brisa adds another point, the chen, and so too, isha nodra shelo tishal, if she imposes on herself a self-imposed neder that she won't borrow from others, she won't lend to others, nafotav tanur, shelo taro begodim noim lebanav, teitze shelo b'ksuba, mipnei shemasi aso shem ra b'shchena. That it seems that it was common practice for a woman to weave clothing for the children, and and she takes it upon herself, self-imposed neder not to do so. He has a right to say, I don't want to live with such a woman. I'm justified in giving a divorce. I'm leaving that to pay the ksuba, because such a neder will generate a bad reputation for him. And this leads us to the Mishnah here in the middle of Daf Ayin Beis. We're up to the Mishnah now. The Elu Yotzos Shalobik Suva. And these are the women who are Masechet Suva Overes al Das Moshe. She violates Isurim that are Doraisa, the Yehudis, or Das Yehudis is Minhagik Tznius, Shenoga Behen Benos Yisrael, that are not Doraisa. Lazy Das Moshe. What would be an example where she loses a Ksuba because she violated the Torah law? An example would be Machilaso She'eno Usar. And she offers him food that hasn't, from which the Maisa wasn't taken off, it's Tevel. The Gemara is going to ask how exactly he knows that it was Tevel. Mishamsho Nida, how does he know that she was a Nida? Lokotzo Lachal, how does he know that she didn't take off from the dough challah? All these questions will be addressed to the Gemara. And Vinoderes V'Eina Mekayemis. She takes a neder and she doesn't fulfill the neder. Ezi Das Yehudis, what would be a violation of Minhag Tznius Yisrael? Yotza Nerosha Parua. She goes out publicly with her hair exposed. The Tova B'Shuk, and she does needlework in the public. The Gemara is going to explain that she lifts up her arms in a way that people could see her draw. With Devers and Kol Odom, she plays with the guys. Avashol Omer Af Hamakaleles Yolda. Even if she curses her father-in-law, in front of her father. In all these cases, takes a bloksu, what we call grounds for divorce. Rabbi Tarfon Omer Afa Kolanis. Ezi Kolanis. When there's some discussion about intimacy in our house, she raises her voice, Ushchinah, Shomim Kola, and others hear that. The Gemara is going to speak about, especially when there's a feud between the husband and the wife, and she yells and screams so that the neighbors know about it, and he's in a state of humiliation. The Gemara says, if he knows that she wasn't mafresh, then why did he eat such a thing? Nifrosh, he should have stopped and desisted from eating. So he must be talking about a situation where he didn't know, and yet somehow he found out. How did he find out? She points to so-and-so and says he was the one who was mafresh. The Ozil, the husband went ahead to test it out. The Shaila, he went to the Kohen that she singled out and said to him, Mr. Kohen, is it true that as my wife says you were mafresh? Mishtaka shikra. He says, Lahoy badva, never happened. So we caught her on the lie. Mishamto b'nida, techidomi idi other nifresh. If he knew that she was an idi, should be parshi. Glo yoda is nismoch ilava. Why don't we rely on her words that she says she's not an ida? How does he know that she was mashamish with him as an ida? And the Gemara explains the Omar of Chidin of Lakan, Shmuel, Minayim Lenida Shesofers Atzma. And the Gemara now wants to prove that she's believed to say that she was Netire herself. She never suffered Allah, she was young Lali Atzma. She's believed to say that she counted the Zayin Nikim in the case of her Zohar. And therefore we should be able to rely on him. So why is she considered Overes al Das Moshe? Anyway, it's as Tzricha B'Yomalei Ploni Chacham Tiru. I said, as I saw some kesem I brought this stain to a chacham, and he was makir. He said it's tov. So the Baal checks her out. Shaila, he asks the chacham if this really happened. Ishtakach shikra, and he finds her to be lying. He goes, "Emo kid Rav Yehuda, Yom Rav Yehuda, chuchsaka nida v'shchino seh." That although the Baal was unaware of it, the Shchenim could testify that she was in need. How so? Because during Nidus, there were special garments that they wore, and the Shchenim said that we know that she was wearing these garments, meaning that she's Becheskes Nida. And Rabbi Yehuda says if he goes ahead and has a relationship with her in such a case, is Loka Olev Mishum Nida. If the Baal, doesn't pay attention to what the Shchenim are saying, which would, that since she's Lavusha B'Gayus, that establishes her Chazok as the Nida, and he goes and he has a relationship with her, he gets Malchus for it. So here we're talking about a case in our Mishnah where he finds out from the Shchenim after he had a relationship with her that she was wearing big nidus and she was Becheskes Nida. Mishnah's Lokotzel of Chal, she didn't mafish Chal from the East. So if he done it, the Yada is Nifash. Why did he eat the Chal? It's terrible. Either Lo Yada, if he wasn't aware of the fact that she was not mafish Chal, as we know, as he know that she wasn't mafish Chal. Well, Tzricha Domrele, Ploni Gabal, Tike Liasa Isa. This professional baker, he kneads the dough with a cake, kneads the dough, and he was mafish Chal Mina Isa. Puzzle Shaila, he goes and checks it out. Dr. Shikra, she was lying. The Mishnah teaches us that the Oderes, the Enema Kayemis, that's considered Oderes al Das Moshe is Yotze V'Loksu. The Omamar, Bavon Nidorin, how severe is the Avera of Neder? Somebody took a Neder, a pledge, a vow, and he didn't fulfill it. Bon and Mason, for that the children will die. Kohelas Hey al Titen es Picha, Lahach Lechati es Psadech. And at the end of the pasuk, it says, "V'chivel es ma'isi yodim show adam and the omer banav ubnov." So the ma'isi banav, which is the punishment meted out here for someone who was nasan es piv lahachti, which means that he was guilty of the avon of nidarim, is the chavel es ma'isi yadecha. It's going to bring about chas shalom, the early death of the children. But Nachman Omer Michacha, he has a pasuk in Yirmiyah, L'shav hi kesi es b'nechem. L'shav means al iske shav, which is a reference to sheker. So they took the Nidarim, and that was a sheker. They did not fulfill the neder, and therefore, because of that aver of Lashav, the Navi says hi kesi es b'nechem. Tanya hoy Rabbi Meir Omer kol yodeh ve'ishto shenoderes ve'ena mekayemes. Rabbi Meir says, you know what? I'm going to make a takana here. He knows that his wife is not fulfilling her nidarim. What he can do is yachzor v'yadiren. What does that mean, yadiren? Remind the sakula. And the Gemara says, no. What does it mean, yachzor v'yadiren? Not what you thought it was, that he'll be mother her and impose another neder on her, but rather, eli yachzor v'yaknitena, he'll get her angry again. And as a result, Kadesha Tidar Bifano, she'll take a neder in his presence for Yofer. He'll be made for the neder, and that afar will be chal on all the nedarim that she took. Amrullah lechacham said to Rabbi Meir, "Ein on the nedarim nachash b'kfif." You don't live with a dangerous snake in one basket. In other words, if he's not going to watch her, or let's say watch the serpent in the basket, he'll get attacked by the serpent. So too, a person should not want to live with a woman who's not Mekayim HaNeder, because even though he might find the takana as Rabbi Meir presented it, but not every minute does he know about Hanadorim that he can set up this whole channel to be Mitaki. Tanya Hoy Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kol Yodeh V'ishto She'ena Kotzel Lo Chala. If a person is aware of the fact that his wife was a mafresh chal, yachsav yifrosh achrel, he should be mafresh chal mina isa. Oh, look, Chum say in on the dar nachash b'kfifa. He's saying that the marriage continues, and we're not going to compel him to divorce his wife. He's living with a woman who's like compared to a serpent in a basket. And if you're not watching that serpent constantly, perpetually, 24/7, then you'll get bitten by the serpent. So a person should not want to live with a woman who is not mafresh chal, even though he has a takana. But he can't watch her and supervise her constantly 24/7. He's going to end up eating an isa she'eno mesukeres. So the Gemara answers, the Gemara points out that man demasi le'acha, if we're talking about Rabbi Yehuda, and he taught his takana with regard to Hafrashas Chala, that's something that's motzui b'shachiyah. And yet, Rabbi Yehuda is not worried about a takala. Is kolshkin how much more so a hach in the case of nidarim, which is not motzui, certainly we could rely on this takala. Ahoman demasli hach, but Rabbi Meir, who had the takana with regard to nidarim, maybe dafka nidarim he holds that there's a takana, because that's rare. In the case of an isha she'ena mafrisha chala, that's considered a situation which is motzui and shchia, is therefore zimnin de mikri, the achil. And sometimes it might happen that without paying attention to it, he might eat something which is also. The Mishnah says, "Ezi das yudis yotze rosh parua, rosh parua doraisi." Where's the source of the Torah for rosh parua? That she exposes her hair. And the Gemara answers, "Upara es rosha isha." In the Parsha of Sota, the Torah says that the Kohen will expose her hair. The Torah de Rabbi Shmuel, as her with no social yetzim and puri rosh. It's also in the Torah for a Bas Yisrael to go out and expose her hair. From the fact that the Kohen was Porei the Rosh Isha, it means that until that moment, her hair was covered. So why does the Mishnah say that if a woman exposes her hair, she's divorced because of Das Yehudis? This is a Doraisa. I mean, to expose her hair is a violation of Doraisa. This shouldn't be Das Yehudis, this should be Das Moshe. And the Gemara answers, on the top of that fine base, on the base, Bekalta.